Have you ever witnessed the quiet but undeniable collapse of corruption and deceit, as though an invisible hand were meticulously restoring balance to a world thrown into chaos? This phenomenon is no accident. It is the deliberate work of Sigma males, a unique archetype of men who operate beyond the confines of conventional leadership. Unlike the boisterous, ego-driven figures who dominate societal hierarchies, Sigma males move through life with a calculated stillness, their intelligence and quiet determination acting as a silent counterforce to those who wield power through manipulation. They are the unseen architects of justice, dismantling systemic rot not with grand declarations, but with precision, patience, and an almost preternatural understanding of human nature. Sigma males are a rare breed, independent, introspective, and unapologetically unconventional. They reject the herd mentality, refusing to be bound by societal expectations or the corrupt frameworks that govern traditional power structures. Instead, they live by an internal code, an unspoken set of principles that grants them the clarity to recognize evil in its many disguises and the resolve to confront it without hesitation. Their methods are neither loud nor theatrical, yet their impact is profound. Whether through strategic silence, psychological insight, or relentless logic, they systematically erode the foundations of corruption, forcing even the most deeply entrenched systems of deceit to falter under the weight of their influence. Today, we delve into the 8 defining ways Sigma males dismantle evil, uncovering the covert strategies that make them such formidable adversaries against unethical forces. From their ninja-like stealth to their mastery of psychological warfare, each tactic reveals a deeper truth about power, that the most effective resistance is often silent, unseen, and executed with surgical precision. This is not a call to arms, it is a study in the art of quiet rebellion, where intellect, integrity, and unwavering resolve become the ultimate weapons against darkness. Number 1, they operate like silent ninjas. In a world addicted to attention and validation, where social media influencers broadcast every thought and politicians perform scripted authenticity, Sigma males move through life like whispers in a thunderstorm, present but unnoticed, powerful but unseen. Their methodology is an ancient art form refined for modern warfare, the art of strategic invisibility. Like the shinobi of feudal Japan who could infiltrate castles undetected, Sigma males understand that true power doesn't announce itself. It waits. It watches. And when the moment of maximum vulnerability presents itself, it strikes with devastating finality. These modern-day shadow warriors have perfected what intelligence agencies call the gray man theory, the ability to blend so perfectly into any environment that they become part of the background noise. In corporate boardrooms, they're the quiet observer taking notes in the corner. At social gatherings, they're the unassuming guest who remembers every conversation but reveals nothing. Their genius lies in making their surveillance feel natural, even comforting, so that corrupt individuals unknowingly reveal their secrets, like prisoners confessing to a cellmate they mistake for a friend. When the time comes to act, their interventions are so precisely calibrated they appear almost supernatural. A strategically leaked document here. An anonymous tip there. A perfectly timed question during a crucial meeting that unravels years of deception in minutes. The corrupt never see the blade coming until it's already between their ribs. And the most terrifying part? No one can ever prove the Sigma male was responsible. Like ninjas who vanish in a puff of smoke, they leave behind only the wreckage of exposed corruption and a lingering sense that justice itself has passed judgment. Number 2, they expose hidden corruption with cold, hard logic. Sigma males approach truth like master sculptors approaching marble. They don't see the polished lie everyone else admires. They see the flaws waiting to be revealed with careful, deliberate strikes. Their minds are hyperlogical supercomputers running constant reality checks against the narratives they're fed. Where emotional beings see convincing performances, Sigma males see data points that don't add up, the micro-expression that contradicts the words, the statistic that doesn't match the conclusion, the timeline that can't possibly be true. Their interrogation methodology would make seasoned detectives envious. They understand that all liars, no matter how skilled, must eventually violate one of 3 fundamental rules. They must either contradict known facts, contradict themselves, or contradict human nature. Sigma males patiently wait for these violations, collecting them like chess pieces until they can execute a checkmate move of irrefutable logic. When confronting corruption, they employ a devastating 3-phase approach. First, the observation phase. They become human lie detectors, noting every nervous tick, every rehearsed answer, every moment when someone's eyes dart to the side as if accessing a mental script. Then, the correlation phase, cross-referencing statements against verifiable facts, historical patterns, and behavioral science principles. They know, for instance, that genuinely surprised people react immediately, while fake surprise has a slight delay. Finally, the revelation phase. They don't accuse, they simply present the contradictions and let the corrupt hang themselves with their own lies. It's psychological judo, using the opponent's momentum against them. Machiavelli's insight about appearances versus reality is their operating system. While others get distracted by charismatic speeches or emotional appeals, Sigma males bypass the theater entirely and go straight for the structural weaknesses in every false narrative. They are human truth serum, the living embodiment of the scientific method applied to human behavior. In a world drowning in misinformation, they are the uncompromising voice of reason that corruption fears most, because you can't manipulate what you can't deceive, and you can't deceive what refuses to believe anything but hard, cold, undeniable facts. Number 3, they dismantle manipulative power structures. Sigma males approach corrupt systems like master locksmiths confronting an elaborate security mechanism. They don't waste energy trying to smash through reinforced doors when they can simply fashion their own key. Their genius lies in recognizing that all systems of manipulation, no matter how sophisticated, contain their own self-destruct mechanisms. The corrupt always leave backdoors in their systems, not out of carelessness, but because their own psychology demands certain vulnerabilities. The Sigma male's dismantling process follows a meticulous 4-phase protocol. Infiltration, they embed themselves just deeply enough to understand the system's inner workings without becoming contaminated by its values. Like undercover agents, they maintain perfect emotional detachment while gathering intelligence. Diagnosis, using pattern recognition honed through observation of multiple systems, they identify the pressure points where minimal effort could create maximum disruption. They know that in most corrupt systems, 90% of the power flows through just 10% of the nodes. Precision strikes, their interventions are so surgically targeted they often appear coincidental. A single email forwarded to the wrong person at the right time. An anonymous tip that arrives precisely when an investigation is gaining momentum. A perfectly timed resignation that triggers a cascade of doubt. Systemic collapse, by the time the architects of corruption realize what's happening, their creation is already eating itself alive. The Sigma male doesn't need to deliver the killing blow, they simply remove the linchpins and let entropy do the rest. What makes their approach so devastating is that it turns the corrupt system's greatest strength, its complexity, into its fatal weakness. While others see an impenetrable bureaucracy, the Sigma male sees Rube Goldberg machine waiting for one crucial component to be removed. They understand that the most effective revolutions aren't televised, they happen in the shadows, in boardrooms and back channels, where perception shifts just enough to make the unsustainable suddenly untenable. Number 4, they stand alone against injustice. The Sigma male's solitary stance against corruption is less a choice than a thermodynamic inevitability, like water refusing to burn no matter how much fire surrounds it. Their resistance follows 3 immutable laws of moral physics. The principle of non-contamination, just as certain elements resist chemical bonding, the Sigma male's psychological composition makes them incapable of internalizing corrupt values, even under intense social pressure. The law of moral density, where others spread their principles thin across countless compromises, the Sigma male concentrates their ethical mass into an irreducible core that cannot be penetrated by rationalization or peer pressure. The paradox of solitary strength, alone, they paradoxically become stronger because their isolation removes all points of leverage. No family to threaten, no career to jeopardize, no reputation to tarnish, just pure, uncompromising presence. When confronting injustice, they employ what psychologists call the black hole effect. Their absolute refusal to participate in corrupt systems creates a gravitational pull that distorts the behavior of everyone around them. Colleagues suddenly find themselves questioning behaviors they'd previously accepted. Managers hesitate before asking for unethical favors. The entire moral ecosystem shifts, not because the Sigma male demands change, but because their mere existence makes the status quo untenable. History's most effective truth-tellers, from Diogenes to Orwell, understood this dynamic. The corrupt can survive opposition, but they cannot survive the silent, unmovable presence of someone who simply will not pretend. The Sigma male weaponizes this understanding, becoming what ancient Chinese strategists called the still center, the point around which chaos must eventually organize itself. Their ultimate power lies not in what they do, but in what they refuse to do, refuse to look away, refuse to rationalize, refuse to lend their energy to systems they know to be broken. In a world running on collective delusion, the most radical act is simply to stay awake, and the Sigma male never, ever sleeps. Number 5, they master the art of unseen influence. The Sigma male's influence is the psychological equivalent of dark energy, an invisible force that exerts undeniable pressure on the social fabric while remaining fundamentally undetectable to conventional observation. Their mastery of unseen influence stems from a profound understanding of human psychology's most overlooked truth. People resent being told what to think but will fiercely defend ideas they believe they've discovered for themselves. Operating on this principle, the Sigma male becomes a master architect of cognitive liberation, constructing mental frameworks so subtly that those influenced feel only the exhilaration of their own awakening, never the guiding hand behind it. This invisible influence operates through multiple simultaneous channels, each carefully calibrated to bypass psychological defenses. The ripple effect of embodied integrity, their very existence becomes a living counterargument to corruption. When others witness someone achieving success without compromising principles, it creates cognitive dissonance that dismantles the myth of necessary evil. Their consistency transforms them into human truth serum. Simply by maintaining their standards, they expose the rationalizations of those who don't. Strategic silence as sonic warfare. In an era of constant noise, their selective silence becomes a weapon of mass disruption. A well-timed pause in conversation can do more damage to a lie than any rebuttal. Their comfort with silence gives them veto power over rushed decisions, forcing systems to slow down and confront their own contradictions. This verbal minimalism makes every spoken word carry the weight of prophecy. Environmental engineering through social physics, they manipulate social dynamics with the precision of a physicist shaping plasma. By strategically introducing certain ideas through peripheral figures, by subtly altering group seating arrangements to break toxic alliances, or by seeding questions that blossom into movements weeks later, they shape outcomes while remaining spectrally absent from the visible chain of causation. The sophistication of their approach lies in its fractal nature. It works at every scale from one-on-one interactions to organizational transformation. In personal relationships, it manifests as an uncanny ability to help others reach breakthroughs while claiming no credit. In professional settings, it appears as cultural shifts that seem to emerge spontaneously from the collective, though the Sigma male planted the seeds months earlier. At societal levels, it becomes the quiet nurturing of paradigm shifts that eventually topple corrupt institutions. Their influence persists precisely because it creates no resistance. Like acupuncture for the collective consciousness, it stimulates change by working with the body's natural energy rather than against it. While charismatic leaders build cults of personality that collapse when they depart, the Sigma male's influence grows stronger in their absence, as those touched by it internalize the principles without ever noticing the source. This is the ultimate manifestation of power, not control over others, but the ability to midwife self-liberation in those ready to awaken. The Sigma male understands what modern leadership has forgotten, that the most powerful changes begin as whispers, not war cries, that revolutions are most effective when participants believe they started them, and that true influence means working yourself out of a job by making your presence ultimately unnecessary. In a world addicted to visible displays of power, their greatest trick is making the world better while leaving no fingerprints. Number 6, they use knowledge as a form of armor. For the Sigma male, knowledge is not just power, it's an impenetrable suit of armor forged in the fires of relentless curiosity. They approach information acquisition like warriors preparing for battle, understanding that in the theater of human conflict, what you don't know can indeed hurt you. Their learning is never passive, it's a targeted, systematic harvesting of intelligence across multiple domains: history's patterns, psychology's insights, body language's silent tells, and systems theory's interconnected webs. This armor functions on 3 defensive levels. At the surface, factual knowledge allows them to instantly detect falsehoods and inconsistencies in narratives. Dig deeper, and you find contextual wisdom, the ability to place information within broader historical and sociological frameworks that reveal hidden agendas. At the core lies strategic epistemology, a sophisticated understanding of how knowledge itself is weaponized in society, who controls information flows, and how to bypass intellectual gatekeepers to access foundational truths. Their self-education makes them virtually immune to common manipulation tactics. Gaslighting fails because their memory and documentation are impeccable. Sophistry collapses because they recognize logical fallacies instantly. Emotional blackmail disintegrates because they've studied manipulation patterns across cultures and eras. Even more crucially, they understand that in an age of information overload, true knowledge means knowing what to ignore. They cultivate mental filters so refined that propaganda, fear-mongering, and distraction tactics slide off them like arrows glancing off tempered steel. This intellectual armor doesn't just protect, it transforms them into walking countermeasures against deceit. When corrupt systems rely on public ignorance, the Sigma male becomes a one-man intelligence agency. When manipulators depend on emotional triggers, they meet someone who responds only to verified facts. In a world where darkness thrives in the absence of light, the Sigma male carries a torch built from 1,000 carefully vetted truths, and no shadow can withstand that illumination. Number 7, they refuse to follow the corrupt playbook. Sigma males approach corrupt systems like grandmaster chess players who suddenly start playing by entirely different rules, not to cheat, but to make the existing rulebook obsolete. They recognize that corruption maintains its power not through strength, but through the collective participation of those who reluctantly play along. By absolutely refusing to engage in the expected patterns, the flattery of narcissistic leaders, the quiet toleration of unethical compromises, or the pretended ignorance of systemic rot, they become unpredictable variables that corrupt systems cannot control or contain. Their resistance operates on multiple levels simultaneously. At the tactical level, they bypass traditional power channels entirely, finding alternative paths to achievement that don't require moral compromise. At the psychological level, they maintain radical transparency in their dealings, depriving manipulators of the shadows where deception thrives. At the philosophical level, they redefine success itself, measuring it by internal integrity metrics rather than external validation. This comprehensive rejection of the corrupt playbook creates a cascading effect. When others witness someone achieving real results without compromising principles, it plants dangerous questions that erode the system's mythology of "this is just how things work." The corrupt find them infuriating precisely because they cannot be bribed, intimidated, or seduced into compliance. Promotions dangled before them hold no allure if the price is complicity. Social exclusion tactics fail because they never sought validation from the group to begin with. Even time-honored institutional pressures, the "wait your turn" mentality, collapse because Sigma males simply create their own timelines and metrics of achievement. In this way, they don't just resist corruption, they make it irrelevant, forcing entire systems to either reform or reveal their true oppressive nature when the usual manipulation tactics fail. Number 8, they are masters at psychological warfare. Sigma males wage psychological warfare with the precision of neurosurgeons and the patience of snipers. Their battlefield is the human mind, and their weapons are an encyclopedic understanding of cognitive biases, emotional triggers, and behavioral patterns. They recognize that most corrupt systems rely not on physical force but on psychological dominance, the unspoken threats, the manufactured consensus, the gaslighting that makes victims doubt their own perceptions. Against these tactics, Sigma males deploy countermeasures so subtle yet devastating that opponents often don't realize they've been outmaneuvered until the conflict is already over. Their psychological arsenal includes strategic silence, the deliberate use of pauses and non-responses that force manipulators to fill the void, often revealing their hand or doubting their position. Mirror tactics, reflecting an opponent's energy and language patterns back at them, creating discomfort that disrupts their scripted approaches. Pattern interruption, breaking predictable social scripts with unexpected responses that throw manipulators off their game. Information control, carefully regulating what they reveal about their thoughts and plans, creating an aura of unpredictability that keeps adversaries uncertain. What makes their psychological warfare so effective is its defensive nature. They don't seek to control others, but to make themselves uncontrollable. A corrupt individual attempting to manipulate a Sigma male experiences something profoundly unsettling. Their usual tactics produce no reaction, their emotional ploys find no purchase, and their attempts at psychological dominance meet an immovable object wrapped in an enigma. Over time, this creates a protective aura around the Sigma male. Corrupt individuals instinctively avoid targeting them, recognizing, even if unconsciously, that this is a battle they cannot win. In this way, the Sigma male turns the tables completely, making the would-be manipulators feel manipulated, the would-be controllers feel out of control, and the purveyors of dishonesty find themselves naked in the light of unflinching perception. Conclusion: the silent sovereignty of the Sigma male. The Sigma male's existence is a masterclass in the paradox of power, that true strength often whispers while weakness screams. Their entire philosophy operates as a counter-narrative to the tired myths of dominance, proving again and again that the most formidable influence is not seized through aggression, but cultivated through unshakable self-possession. Like dark matter shaping galaxies invisibly, their impact transcends visible metrics. They measure success not in conquered territories, but in liberated minds, not in followers gained, but in corrupt systems disrupted. What makes their approach revolutionary is its scalability. A single Sigma male operating at peak capacity can undo decades of systemic corruption simply by refusing to participate in its illusions. Their resistance isn't marked by grandiose revolutions, but by 1,000 subtle acts of defiance, the inconvenient question asked in a board meeting, the refusal to laugh at an unethical joke, the decision to walk away from a rigged game rather than complain about its rules. These micro-rebellions accumulate like snowflakes on a branch, until one day, the entire structure of deception collapses under the weight of its own contradictions. The 8 pillars we've examined form an interconnected arsenal. Ninja-like operational stealth that bypasses defenses. Surgical truth-telling that amputates lies. Structural dismantling of corrupt frameworks. Uncompromising solitude that breaks herd mentality. Ambient influence that reshapes environments. Knowledge armor that deflects manipulation. Rulebook rejection that makes corruption obsolete. Psychological warfare that outmaneuvers deceit. This is not merely a survival guide for navigating a broken world, it's a blueprint for rendering that brokenness obsolete. The Sigma male doesn't just endure corrupt systems, he engineers their irrelevance by demonstrating a superior alternative through sheer existential proof. As you stand at the edge of these insights, consider this transformative question. What corrupt systems in your own life persist only because you've been conditioned to see them as inevitable? The Sigma male's greatest lesson is that the prison doors were never locked, just uncontested. In a world addicted to noise, their silent example reminds us that sometimes the most radical act is simply to stop pretending, to stop complying, to stop believing in the emperor's clothes. They prove daily that integrity, when wielded with strategic precision, becomes an unstoppable force, one that doesn't defeat corruption so much as reveal it was never truly powerful to begin with, just unchallenged. The invitation stands, not to imitate, but to awaken. Not to follow, but to recognize your own latent Sigma potential. For in the final calculus, their greatest victory isn't the battles won against external corruption, it's the absolute sovereignty they've achieved over their own perception, making them living proof that the ungovernable man is the ultimate check on tyranny in any form.